Hey, y'all, welcome to Gadfly, the podcast about third parties, French candidates, and just generally weird American electoral history. I'm Dusty Wilson.
I'm Una O'Leary.
And Una, this is a big week for us. I am nervous. I'm excited. I am every emotion that makes your nervous system just go bonkers.
Ooh, I mean, that's my everyday, but yeah, this is a Gadfly vibe shift.
Very much, yeah. So this is the reason I'm so nervous is we're going to be talking about an issue that is very, very current. Now, I know during Preview 2022, we're talking about, campaigns that are ongoing and things like that.
But those are looking to the future.
Yeah, those are like major candidates, though. And like everyone's talking about that shit. Any local news or national news is going to be talking about it. The thing we're talking about today has not really gained that much national attention. And I think really just kind of fits into the sort of stuff that we pay attention to a lot on this podcast.
Excellent. Give us your niche.
Yeah. And so it's just some serious stuff that has me very nervous because this is the first time that I've interviewed people for an episode. As I repeatedly told them, I am not a journalist. That is not my experience. If anything,
I'm one on a podcast.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. If anything, I'm just like, even if you don't want any of this stuff to go public, like I'm just like a sneaky jerk who just wants some tea. Like I want some answers that I've had questions to for 5 fucking years. And I just want to know.
But 5 years.
5 years. Yeah. And so like everyone that I talked to were just incredibly cordial and passionate and really, really great. And so getting the story right for them is really, really important. So it's going to be a bit of a longer episode to cover everything. I didn't want to split this into parts. I kind of just wanted it all in one go.
Yeah.
And so going into this, our topic is going to be the movement for a people's party.
Party of the people.
Exactly. So, typically I would want to wait until the cycle of revelations are completed. But like I said, since there aren't really that many media outlets talking about it, it kind of feels really important to discuss before like a new round of things begin. Because I don't think the story that we have here is going to end this month. It feels like something that's just going to kind of keep going. And I think people need to know about it for their own sake.
Right. And also kind of record this moment in the People's Party for posterity.
Exactly.
And as it changes, for record. We're like an oral history.
Yeah, a little time capsule of stuff. So let's just get this out of the way. So the People's Party is not really an original name in American or even world politics. It's a very common name that a lot of political movements take on to various degrees, but there have been 5 different movements in America that have taken the name of the People's Party. So I just kind of want to get those out of the way so we know what the historical stuff is. So in Indiana, there is a People's Party that was a conservative populist movement that was against the expansion of slavery and existed from 1854 to 1860.
Nice.
There was a Utah-based People's Party that focused on centrist Mormonism and lasted from 1870 to 1891. The Illinois People's Party was a centrist anti-temperance party that lasted from 1873 to 1875 before it eventually merged with the GOP.
Wait, so anti-temperance, so they were like full on into drinking?
Yes, to my understanding.
Very cool. Okay.
The first national version of the People's Party was known as the Populist Party. It focused on left-wing agrarian populism and existed from 1892 to 1909. They ran a number of presidential races, but would eventually fall apart due to teaming up with the Democrats for an election cycle and alienating everyone from the party who didn't want to get swallowed up by a major party. So when they decided to split up again during the next cycle, fewer people were there and they just kind of died out. Also, when they paired with the Democrats, they lost.
Oh.
And then the second National People's Party was a left-wing socialist party that combined dissatisfied members of 8 regional leftist parties, lasted from 1971 to 1977, and ran candidates in 2 elections, including the famous baby doctor, Dr. Spock.
Oh, Dr. Spock. Okay.
Yep. So there hasn't really been a People's Party in America since 1977. And like I just said, they've represented the gamut of causes and beliefs to a degree that I was not expecting when I started this. But, 4 decades have passed since the last one existed. So it's exited the majority of the zeitgeist, the people's regular thought. So it's really kind of a perfect time to bring that name back and define it how you want to. And to get a good idea of what they stand for, we have to talk about their founder, Nick Brana. Now, there isn't a ton out there about Nick, at least publicly. But what we do know is he was born in either 1988 or 1989 in the DC metro area.
So he's younger than us. Fine.
Yes, he is.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's important to start with your frustration and anger that this child is younger than us.
Right. I mean, as it is, it's like anytime we're talking about the 70s now and it gets mentioned, it's like, well, that was 4 decades ago. It's like, oh, it was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Oh.
It's a real kick in the teeth every fucking time.
Fine.
Like, we all know no one was born after 1985. This is the conspiracy theory that I will carry until my death.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we all know that Olivia Rodrigo is a robot, as is every Zoomer.
She is back from the future in that she was born in the 70s and then disappeared and then was discovered in like a 4400 kind of a way and then put out this amazing album, which is why it resonates so well with people older than her.
I hate how much that tracks. I hate how good that is. That is better than Birds Aren't Real. I'm gonna give yourself an award.
Have I been watching a lot of X-Files? Yes, I have.
Well, now we've solved pop music. That's good. So Nick was born in probably 1988 or 1989, DC metro area. His father, Rodrigo, was able to supply a fairly comfortable living for the family as an architect who owned his own company. He does have a website for his company, which I believe is called Urbiz, URBIZ, very 90s. And they have like an old Yahoo domains page. And so it's like, it's not really up to date. And I don't really know what was going on, but it seemed like he was working on, high rises and major projects, things like that. In 2007, Nick would begin his college years at William and Mary, going for the old double major sociology and environmental science and policy. The summer of his freshman year, though, he would begin his extensive career in political internships. The summer of his freshman year, he would be a policy intern for the Organization of American States, which was a group founded in 1948 to improve relationships between the countries in North, Central, South, and Caribbean America, except for Cuba. Fuck Cuba. And hey, Venezuela, you keep pulling that shit, we're going to permanently kick you out of our weird organization.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he interned for them for a summer. So the next summer, Nick got another internship. This time it was a legislative intern for Environmental America, an advocacy group that pushes for new laws and policies that are environmentally friendly. It should be noted, though, that Environmental America has a fairly poor rating from Charity Navigator, who seems to indicate that the executives of Environmental America tend to get paid more than they should.
Ooh, yikes.
Yeah. So Nick would graduate in 2011, and based on his LinkedIn page, took a year off from work. As you do. He would then dive into another internship, this time working for the Campaign for Our Country PAC, which is affiliated with Senator John Kerry. As far as super PACs go, there's not a lot of interesting shit here. It's very by the book of John Kerry raising money for his friends.
Yeah, and not a whole lot of dark money shit. It's just like, nope, it's a PAC.
Yeah, really the only weird thing I found is that they donated, I think it was $2,500 to Wesley Clark's presidential campaign. They gave him this money in 2010. James Blunt claims that Wesley Clark tried to start World War III when he was a soldier in the Bosnian War.
Oh my God.
Yeah, apparently Wesley Clark, when he was the head of NATO, ordered James Blunt and his military group that he was in before his music career, ordered them
thank you.
ordered them to attack a Russian site. And they said, we're not starting World War III, sir. And they were like, all right, fine. No idea how true that is. He said it was like a Top Gear interview of all things. So who fucking knows what? But yeah, so they donate $2,500 to Wesley Clark in 2010, despite the fact that Wesley Clark hadn't run for president since 2004.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that was a deep cut name. So fine, some money laundering, whatever.
Maybe. Yeah. And I'm trying to connect why, because I mean, I'm sure John Kerry and Wesley Clark met each other while Kerry was running for president in 2004. I didn't know they were that close or like close enough that you're just like, hey, I'll help you pay some leftover dues or like any sort of debts that your campaign still has after 6 years, which I mean, that's at least something that could explain it.
Is this like what at our economic level would be the equivalent of giving you a ride to the airport? But
I think so. Yeah. I think that's a really good comparison. Yeah.
In that like moneyed oligarchy powered strata. It's like, yeah, let me donate to sort of a campaign that you have. I got you.
Yeah, it's like if Joe Biden 6 years from now is like contacted by Jim Gilmore, it's like, oh, you're short $2,000 from your campaign after all this time. Let Papa Joe help out.
No, boo, I got you.
Even those books.
Whatever you need.
So yeah, those are the only weird things I kind of saw there. But apparently Nick did a good enough job that he shifted over to be a legislative intern for John Kerry's Senate office. The next year, Nick would end up getting his first paying job out of college when he became the deputy voter protection director for Terry McAuliffe's campaign for governor of Virginia. Essentially, the job is make sure everyone gets to vote.
Yeah.
Pretty
standard.
After the end of McAuliffe's campaign, Nick would move to an occasional correspondent job on a public access TV debate show called The Square Circle, which was not about wrestling, so it makes it a bad name. Apparently it's founded by a website called publicsquare.net or something like that, so that's how they decided to run with it. But motherfuckers, wrestling has that. You can't take wrestling shit.
That's amazing. Other evidence that it was put together by total NPR PBS nerds is the fact that they didn't have this like outlet and they didn't just ironically name it "Debate Me, You Cowards."
Which is great. That is a great name.
That would be a great name. It's just like, haha, yeah. We're owning this. We're taking it back.
Those are really good. It sounds like a name that if someone was like, hey, do you watch the WWF? And they're like, oh, I didn't realize the World Wildlife Foundation had its own show. And then you like take a haughty sip of chamomile tea.
Right before you get punched in the neck.
Look, chamomile tea is probably the best tea to be drinking if someone is going to punch you. It's soothing, and you're relaxed already. You can take a punch.
Relax, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Sleepy Time Bear. You've saved me from assault again.
You need some throat coat for when you get punched in the throat.
Love it. So he was like the progressive expert for the show whenever they needed someone to come in and read progressive shit. But the big break for Nick would come in 2015 when he was hired to be the National Public Outreach Coordinator for the Bernie Sanders 2016 presidential campaign.
Oh shit, big leagues.
Now, as we all know, Bernie would end up losing to Hillary Clinton, but a great amount of disappointment began to churn amongst Bernie's most ardent supporters.
The bros.
Yes. So a series of email leaks would surface that showed the Democratic National Committee head Debbie Wasserman Schultz had been heavily supporting Clinton over Bernie during the entire election process. And during the 2016 race, it was essentially a two-person race the entire time, something that I don't think we will ever see again in the history of American presidential politics. So yeah, it was just them going one-on-one. And Debbie Wasserman Schultz and her people were just like, we don't like Bernie. We don't like what he stands for. We don't like his people. Fuck them. And, just kind of throwing support to Hillary. And a lot of people who are supporting Sanders are like, this is clear vote rigging. Like, if the Democratic Party is pushing for Hillary this much, how could we expect to win?
Counterpoint, tell this. I have not read the documents behind this in terms of like what's available and what was said within the Democratic National Campaign. However, I think it is also fair to point out how deeply misogynistic many of the Bernie supporters were in their actions, like post-primary and also leading up to the primary. So I just want to even it out a little bit that depending on, like, fine, could it have been more equal? Yes. But I think and a lot of their resentment also came out in a resentment of, not just that their guy didn't win, but that a woman did.
Mm-hmm. And I will counterpoint and then counterpoint, because the other argument that people had was that in the Democratic primaries, which is different from the Republican ones, Democrats have superdelegates. And superdelegates are high-ranking members of the party, elected leaders, essentially like the big muckety-mucks of the party. Mm-hmm. And while you win each state, you get electoral votes from those states. With superdelegates, they kind of get to be an electoral vote all their own. And so the superdelegates count for around 1/3 of the Democratic nominating process, which essentially led to begin with of like all these superdelegates supporting Hillary to begin with and making it look like Bernie did not have a chance to begin with. There is that. And the superdelegate process is a really weird thing for the Democrats to do, but not the Republicans. It's really, it doesn't really let the popular vote decide who's going to be doing what.
Or even a younger candidate, frankly.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just depending on what the superdelegates are like most concerned about as voters.
Exactly, yeah. Essentially, it awards establishment contacts more than whether or not you're the best candidate. And yeah, I'm not a huge fan of that. The counterpoint to that, though, is that Bernie does not do good in the South. Like, Southern Democrats do not.
You don't say.
For Bernie. Does not happen.
What? The right to work votes aren't coming for Bernie?
Yeah, And so southeast of America, you have an entire voting block that you will never fucking win as Bernie Sanders, try as he might. And so I think going into the election, it's like, yeah, it would have been nice if the DNC wasn't heavily favoring Clinton behind the scenes. It'd be nice if superdelegates weren't a fucking thing. But if you can't win the Southeast as a Democrat, like in the primaries, you're not going to win the fucking nomination.
Yeah.
And, that's always been Bernie's Achilles heel in any election. Happened in 2016 that way. But that being said, like I said, people were fucking pissed off to the point that when Bernie endorsed Hillary Clinton at the national convention, he was booed.
Oh, yeah.
To which he replied, "It's easy to boo, but it's harder to look your kids in the face if we're living under a Trump presidency."
You're not wrong, Bernie.
Yeah, that man with the mittens knows what he's talking about.
Listen, I don't want to say fall in line, but also fucking fall in line. There are bigger issues at hand.
Yeah, passed.
Yeah.
So after that presidential campaign, Nick would move on as electoral manager at Our Revolution. But watching Bernie's campaign end so suddenly and under such seemingly unfair conditions gave him an idea. Why don't we just make a new party and get Bernie to lead it? And all in all, it is not the worst idea that has ever existed. Bernie Sanders has never been a member of the Democratic Party, despite running for their nomination twice. And since his career in Congress began in 1991, Bernie has been an independent that whole time. But prior to that, Bernie did have a stint with the world of third parties as a member of the Vermont-based Democratic Socialist Liberty Union Party. As a member of the Liberty Union Party, he'd run for governor twice and senator twice, with a high point of getting 6% of the vote in the 1976 gubernatorial race. But by the time Nick got his wild idea, it had been a full 4 decades since Bernie had even entertained being a member of a party, let alone starting a whole new one. And like, I don't know, Bernie. I've never talked with a man. We don't, play cards regularly.
Yeah, mutuals on Twitter.
Exactly. He doesn't seem like the kind of guy who wants to spend his precious remaining time starting a new party.
You would have done it already.
Exactly. Like he would have done it on his fucking own if he wanted to do it.
Yeah, with 2 cents and the same pair of shoes.
Oh my
would
God.
have started his own party.
Yeah, and I don't think he needs someone to be like, hey, Bernie, let's do this party. I know I was a mid-level staffer in your campaign, and I got a big blockbuster of an idea for you.
Listen, this is why we love the youth. Go forward, kid.
So Nick does have one thing that others didn't have at the time, and that's that he did work alongside Senator Sanders. And something from working on his campaign led him to believe that it wasn't an impossible task to convince Bernie to come along. And being that person who worked with Bernie, it kind of convinced other people that he knew something that other people didn't. So in 2017, Nick premiered the website Draft a Bernie for a People's Party. The thesis for his movement would be written by Nick and published on the Huffington Post. And it sure is a series of words placed in an order.
Oh boy.
I was not expecting, essentially, if this was a paper that someone had turned into me as a teacher, it would just be covered in red marks and end with "see me after class."
Yikes.
So, all right, I'm just going to throw you the first paragraph that really hit me. Since the presidential election, there has been a remarkable exodus from the Democratic Party. More than 14 million people have left and become independents. That represents a loss of nearly 20% of the party's following from early November. This was published the first week of February, so 3 months after the election. He is claiming 20% of the party has left, equaling 14 million people who are now independents. The number of Democrats has fallen to a historic low, so low that Republicans now outnumber Democrats in a progressive country. So,
what?
Yep. I mean, that last sentence is just laughable on its fucking face. It's like, I think you could maybe make an argument with the polls that show progressive ideas are supported by people.
Oh, absolutely.
But that does not a progressive country make.
No.
It's a good thing to work towards, and it's, very good news, especially if you want to push these ideas, but you still have to get people to support these ideas when they're voting.
It's fascinating too, because it's like you don't have to step far back from this worldview you're in and just realize it's like, as a whole, we as a country have just shifted pretty far right. Like whatever progressive actions Congress takes today is still like so right leaning in terms of like what we see in Europe and other countries where there is much more of a socialist Democrat party. And
Exactly.
so it's just like, I mean, maybe compared to like 2003, but bro, I remind myself that I am in a social media bubble. Yeah. Do you?
Also, he wrote this in 2017 after Trump won, after the Republicans took the House and the Senate.
And again, it's like, well, then, the argument becomes more of a Stacey Abrams argument of just like, we don't let enough people vote to really bring into power people who can actually represent the nation.
Yeah. And that's probably more of an argument for that. That being said, there are some tangible things that are very easy to prove wrong here. First, his claim that 14 million people have become independents and left the Democratic Party, equaling a loss of 20% of the party's following from Election Day. So looking into membership data from the parties, between 2016 and 2017, the number of registered Democrats did drop by nearly 1 million people for a loss of 2.1%. But that's for the full year. That being said, the GOP also lost people during that time frame, a total of 245,000 people, or 0.7%. So it kind of just seems to either be people letting their memberships lax, or maybe people died, or they didn't. Any number of fucking things. And so I was really curious where he got this information from, and he was kind enough to link to a Gallup poll that tracks this information. And the first thing that was really fucky is that the poll doesn't measure actual party registration. It measures party affiliation. So essentially the question was, hey, do you believe that you are more affiliated with Republicans, Democrats, or independents? Not if you remember, where do you think you fit best?
Yeah, and it's like, who of our age like affiliates them? Like, I don't think I'm a registered Democrat.
Oh no, I've never been a member of the Democratic Party. I've voted for them a lot, but I'm not a member.
Right. It's like, I don't need the store card. I just come in here for some t-shirts when I need them.
Yeah, if I like what you're selling, sure. Why
sure,
not?
But like, please, no, I don't care about the interest rate. I'm not.
Yeah, look, I don't
here for that.
I don't want the company credit card that's going to charge me interest. I don't need this. I have shit to do. Call me in 2 years. But yeah, so it's already flawed data. And he does refer to the Dems being at a historical low, which technically from the Gallup poll is right. The thing though is the Gallup poll has only been tracking this affiliation feeling since 2004. There is no information prior to there that I can find to verify this.
Come on. 2004 was a weird year.
And this is giving him some benefit of the doubt because, the article came out the first week of February. I'm assuming that the newest information didn't come out until after it was published. We all know you can't edit anything once it's been released. And so I'm using the January numbers that they had, which claimed only 25% of people felt they were more affiliated with Democrats, which even then is only a 6% drop from the election. So I have no clue where he's getting this 20% number. It is.
It feels like the percentages in spam Viagra emails, like, now you can be harder, longer, 20%. It's like, sir, please don't.
Like, are you measuring hardness in cubic meters? Like, what? Is this a hydraulics thing? What are we doing? So yeah, and so the really funny thing though is the month that his article came out. So on election day, Dem affiliation was 31%. When Nick wrote his article, it was at 25%, and after it was published, it was 31% because Trump got inaugurated and people got mad.
Yeah,
and it's it's one paragraph with so many things that are wrong. It just just nonsensical. But wait, there's more.
No, Dusty.
History offers a successful model for building a new party in America. A popular politician builds a large following in the establishment parties by representing a neglected majority. Then he breaks from the old regime to form a populist party. This is how the Republican and Democratic parties were created. All right. And to make things even more fun, the two presidents that he used as an example of as successes for this are Abraham Lincoln, which correct, Abraham Lincoln was the first Republican nominee and became the first successful Republican nominee for president, and Martin Van Buren, who was the second Democrat to win.
So why not use the first?
Because the first is Andrew Jackson, a man famous for genocide.
No, you gotta own it. You gotta own it.
I know, right? Skeletons. I mean, the man loved his wife. It's what I'll always say. The man at least loved his wife. He did genocide all the fucking time. Man loved his wife.
Also, Woodrow Wilson. We need to, okay, this is
like his wife was a great president, so I don't know what you're talking about.
This is just a side thing, but next year, can we have a special Valentine's Day episode where we talk about all these terrible presidents, but just like how in love with their wives they are?
Oh my God.
Just like a shout out.
We could do a whole episode on all the duels that Andrew Jackson fought to defend his wife's honor, because it's at least a half dozen.
He just wanted to kill men.
You're not wrong. And if love is a pathway to murder, so be it.
He was just a Johnny Cash song waiting to happen.
Yeah, if country music existed, would Andrew Jackson A, murdered people, or B, been president?
He might have not been president. He might have been going hard in Nashville.
Yeah. Oh my God. Oh, it could have been. So yeah. So what makes this really, really tone deaf is that the thing that led Abraham Lincoln to victory was the fact that people were pissed off that slavery was expanding to the West, and a strong portion of the Republican Party wanted emancipation 100%. That's a big deal. It's a big issue that caused a war. With Andrew Jackson, he ends up gaining a lot of power because in 1824, after 5 presidents, America's like, hey, maybe we should have a popular vote. Maybe letting these electors decide who the president isn't the most democratic way to go about things. So they held their first ever popular vote, and Andrew Jackson ends up having the most votes in the popular vote in the Electoral College, but he didn't have a plurality. So in the Electoral College, you have to have 50% plus 1 to be able to win. Otherwise, the top 2 candidates are then voted on by Congress in a very weird voting system.
But I think that became a Veep episode. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And so John Quincy Adams ends up winning in 1924, despite not having the popular vote or the electoral vote. As the apocryphal story goes, the last senator to vote was like praying to God, and then he looked on the floor and he saw a slip for John Quincy Adams. He's like, this is a sign. I got God's putting paper on floors.
No, first of all, like all I'm imagining is Squid Games right now, where they're voting to stay or leave. But yes.
100%. Yeah. And so people were fucking furious. That is like, hey, we're going to have a popular vote. Oh, guess what? It doesn't fucking matter, you dicks. And
that was the only time.
And so that was enough to galvanize the movement. The appearance, you can make the argument of a rigged election. Bernie honestly losing a primary, that is not an event that reaches that caliber. It is not emancipation. It is not a massively rigged vote for the very first popular vote ever. It's not an angry majority moment.
And I feel like there were, at least in the news circles that I was doom scrolling through at the time, it's like there was not even a call to arms, just an aggressive pointing out of the fact that it's like yet another Republican nominee who wins without the popular vote.
Mm-hmm.
Again, George Bush didn't win.
Yeah.
I think in 2004 either.
He won 2004.
Oh, he won 2004.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah. John Kerry was that boring of a choice that he won straight out.
Oh, it's a weird year, but yeah. I mean, that's bring in Andrew Jackson, start talking about that, man. Like, yes, this is a problem.
Mm-hmm. So it makes it's a weird argument to make. But then there's this claim, quote, if Sanders starts a new party, we would begin with at least half the Democratic base. I don't know where he's getting these numbers at all. And it might be based on national polling for Bernie, but I mean, even then it averaged out at like the 37 to 41%, but it might be more his favorability rating, which across the country was around 54%. So I guess taking that and assuming half the Democratic Party would follow him into a new party it's a leap. I can see the brain math making that work, but it's just, that's a real stretch. So in the end, he ultimately states that if Bernie is to accept their offer to lead this new party, then they could replace the entire Democratic Party by the 2020 election. And I think this is important because a lot of people in this movement have stated their desire to end the duopoly, which is a government that is run by two parties. And I think it's very hard to argue that the Republicans and Democrats don't have the entire political system on lock and have done a number of things to rig the system to make sure that that stays the same. So for Nick to come in and say, no, I don't want to make a multi-party system, I just want to be one of the two, is real fucking shady.
I just want to pod people the Democratic Party.
I want to wig the Democrats. It is what it is. Yes. Get the fuck out of here. Go to the dustbin of history, you fucks.
Yeah, you are an ugly caterpillar waiting for my beautiful butterfly.
But yeah, if they were going to do this, they just had to follow the plan. And it was a pretty decent 6-step plan. Step 1, generate a petition to show Bernie that there was interest in creating a new party with him as the figurehead. Step 2, once Bernie's on board, have him bring in other congressional progressives to join. Step 3, when the big names are all signed up, hold a founding convention. Step 4, once the party's real, Bernie and his congressional pals tour the country to gin up support. Step 5, run local and congressional candidates in the 2018 midterms, and specifically run in red districts where Democrats have performed poorly, but progressive ideas are supported. I have one question, where is that? Like, I think it works if you're like going to run in areas where the Democrats have whiffed and not run candidates. I think it's a good way to build up notoriety and numbers.
I think it's also like, oh, that's cute. It sounds like you're describing gerrymandered districts. So good luck. I mean, where I grew up was a very much liberal little bastion. We had the university and everything, but oh, look, we were attached to a wide swath of mid-Michigan that always voted red.
Yeah.
It's like, never mind.
And then step 6, run a full slate of congressional, Senate, and state candidates, as well as a presidential candidate in 2020. And they believe that they could full out win, boosted by the dislike of Trump and the frustration with the Democratic Party for doing nothing to stop him. So following the Huffington Post article, Nick got to work and began circulating an online petition to show Bernie how many people supported this idea. Eventually, Nick would get 48,000 signatures, including the director of the 2010 documentary Gasland, Josh Fox, and Harvard professor Dr. Cornel West.
Ooh.
And by all rights, not really a bad turnout. Once the signatures were collected, Nick set September 9th, 2017 as the deadline for Bernie to accept. From the 8th to the 10th, they would host what was called the Convergence Conference on the campus of American University in Washington, D.C. So the plan was, on the 8th, you visit Bernie's office, you present him with the petitions, and inform him, or whoever takes them, that he has until the evening of the next day to accept their invitation to lead this new party.
Notice me, senpai.
Real notice me, senpai energy. Prior to that final deadline, there would be some speakers during the night, such as Dr. Cornel West, Seattle Councilwoman Kashama Sawant, and comedian turned political show host Jimmy Dore. He had gained the support of the Progressive Independent Party, Socialist Alternative, and the Justice Party. Nick would also premiere the platform for the upcoming party, such as Medicare for All, free public college, breaking up the big banks, and removing Citizens United so companies couldn't directly donate to candidates. It was pretty much a one-for-one copy of Bernie's 2016 presidential campaign.
Well, sure, because he's going to lead it.
Exactly, yeah.
He says yes, and he's going to say yes.
This is
right,
one of the few times I will not begrudge someone for copying their homework, because it makes sense. Take one thing off Bernie's plate.
Right. It's the whole fucking point.
Yeah. And then on the night of September 9th, Bernie did not show up.
Wow.
So step 1 of Nick's plan has failed to materialize, and Senator Sanders was decidedly not interested. So they got to go to plan B, which is just make the party on their own, baby.
Yeah.
They would call this new party the Movement for a People's Party. Also, the rest of the plan remained exactly the same, just cutting out all the steps that included Bernie. So they do all the outreach themselves, run local and congressional candidates in 2018, and a presidential candidate in 2020. Thing is, even with Bernie's backing, that would have been one hell of a task. The three parties that had joined up with Nick hadn't been able to do that during their tenures. The greatest success that the three of them had is that Socialist Alternative had gotten Councilwoman Sawant elected in Seattle. Currently, she is their only candidate who has been elected. And the Justice Party had actually run a presidential candidate out of the three. They're the only ones. In 2012, they ran former mayor of Salt Lake City, Rocky Anderson, who had also founded the party. And not only did they not make the ballot in every state, but they had to seek the endorsement of the Natural Law Party to even end up on the ballot in Michigan. In total, they were on the ballot in 15 states.
Oh, okay.
Also, fun fact, I voted for Rocky Anderson in 2012.
Shut up.
Yep, I wrote him in. It was utterly pointless. It didn't mean
Oh,
because I was like, I like what this party stands for. I'd like to see what they do. And then
yeah.
after 2012, in 2016, they endorsed Bernie and ran no one. In 2020, they endorsed Bernie and ran no one. And technically, they're still around and like planning a comeback for 2024, I guess. But it's literally doing nothing. It's an empty storefront.
Again, you guys could be making such differences at the local level.
Yeah. Well, like, the Justice Party is based out of Utah, and pretty much their whole bag got scooped up the past couple of years. The United Utah Party has been running as sort of like a middle ground party for people to go after. And so the Justice Party really has nothing they can do right now in Utah without just like trying to go against the United Utah Party, which is struggling but trying.
Aww.
So yeah. But you know what? Maybe combining everyone's experience together might make things possible. The thing, though, is from the outset, there had been someone who had been in Nick's shoes before and had the experience to know how Herculean of a task was really in front of him. Neil Soroka had been a supporter of Governor Howard Dean back in 2004. Dean was a progressive candidate, governor of Vermont, and it really looked like he could be the dark horse to face George W. Bush in 2004. However, after a poor showing in Iowa and a repeatedly played moment of awkward enthusiasm, Dean's chances were struck down, and establishment Dems went for the boring safe choice of John Kerry, because that shit always works, baby.
Such a shame. Like,
yeah,
it's so dumb. It's just like, yeah, and then that's it. And that's how dumb our political system is with the media.
One fucked up tone, and it's done.
Like, at least Gary Hart had a girl in his lap. Like, Dean was just excited. God forbid we show any emotion.
Yep. No, that's why we picked John Kerry. He was emotionless.
Really, though.
Can't deny the man was very smart, but he not a room shaker, not a guy to really get you riled up. Yeah, it really sucks. It came down to him and fucking John Edwards, a man of sex crimes.
I mean, that's even scarier. That it was just like that was one of those things where it's like we were a heartbreak away from just the worst. Like, we would have lost elections for decades to come if it had been John Edwards.
Yeah, dark fucking times. 2004 is a weird bullshit. We should talk about 2004 sometime. It was just weird choices all around. Yeah. Anyway, so Howard Dean loses, and in the wake of his loss, he founds Democracy for America, a super PAC designed to support progressive candidates. Soroka joined the org and got even more evidence of how hard things were for progressive Democratic challengers, let alone third-party candidates. Democracy for America would support Bernie and endorse his 2016 run, but Soroka was really quick to note how near impossible things would be for the MPP going forward. Quote, "The reality is gaining ballot access in states takes an incredible amount of time. As a political party, your number one path to political success is through access to that ballot. If you want to affect change in 2018 and 2020, that's going to take a heck of a lot of time just to get on that ballot. And that's before we even talk about recruiting candidates." And Neil's 100% right. Each state is allowed to set their own rules on how to get on the ballot, and each requires a different set of signatures, filing fees, length of residency. Some don't even require you to live in the state before you run. New York's very famous that you have to live in New York the day of the election. Yeah. So it's a lot to handle, and if you're planning midterm races in a year and 2 months and a presidential run in a little over 3 years, then you need to have already been working on this stuff to make it possible. And it turns out it doesn't seem like anyone was.
No.
So 2018 would come and go without the People's Party even having a functioning website. They bought the domain, but nothing was there.
Damn. Okay. All right.
But you know what? I get it. Nick's a former Bernie staffer. He had some big names on his side, so it probably felt inevitable to him that Bernie would hop on. And now that, Bernie hasn't, he's got to start this idea from scratch. And, it makes 2018 not possible. So now faced with a 90-degree uphill climb, pushing back the timeline for elections just made a lot of sense. By 2019, the Movement for People's Party website was up with a revamped and extensive platform. Now, we don't have the time to go over everything because there is a lot on the website. So this is mostly just going to be sort of a greatest hits kind of thing. If you want to see the whole thing, I'd recommend hopping onto the Wayback Machine, go to the MPP's website, and go to November 28th, 2019. So the revised platform included ranked choice voting, make ballot access for independents and third parties easier, return to voting with just paper ballots, offer a $20 tax rebate for anyone who votes.
Ooh.
Yeah. I like the idea that, I've never had to wait more than 30 minutes to vote. So the idea of getting paid technically $40 an hour to vote is a good idea. But of course, then you have to go to the other side where people wait in line for 5 to 6 hours for $20.
Yeah, no, $20 an hour at least, man.
Yeah. Repeal the Patriot Act,
Nice.
make the internet a public utility, and expand broadband to rural communities.
Yes.
Ban assault rifles, armor-piercing rounds, bump stocks, and high-capacity magazines. Create a federal buyback program for guns and a universal background check system for all purchases. Pass Medicare for all and extend coverage to undocumented peoples. Make public college free. Ban offshore drilling and fracking. Expand public transportation and high-speed rail. You know, I fucking love that shit.
The best.
Ban factory farming and switch to free-range farming of all animals, which,
Aww.
not gonna lie, I fucking love that. It's, you know, great. Ban the death penalty, restore voting rights as soon as you leave prison, and ban the felony checkbox on job applications, which those of you who aren't in America, on job applications, there's a checkbox to say, hey, have you committed a felony in the past 5 years? And if you have to check it. And 99.9% of the time, people will throw that out immediately.
Yeah. So good luck re-entering society.
Yeah, it's the whole prison system. Great. Probably one of their more ambitious is overturn the 13th Amendment section that allows for slave labor in prisons.
Oof,
It would take a ton of work, but admirable, and I love it. Legalize weed, require 12 weeks of paid family and medical leave, raise both hourly and tipped minimum wage to $15 an hour, work to place drones on the list of banned weapons of war, only use war defensively and only if all diplomatic options have been exhausted, and use military funds to fund the end of poverty worldwide.
Ooh.
Yeah, that one I like a lot. They made the point that it's a really good way to build goodwill worldwide and kind of make up for the shitty things we've done throughout the 20th century.
Yes, chances are you're poor because of us.
Yep.
So
we kind of didn't like who you elected, so sorry. Here's some bread.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, it's easily not the worst idea. It probably needs a lot more checks and balances to make sure people actually get the funds. But overall, I think it's a really good empathetic idea.
I also like it because I feel like so many people point out just how drop in the bucket an amount would be to take from our current military budget to put towards ending poverty domestically.
Yeah.
And so I do appreciate that. It's like, yeah, and then there would be so much more leftover money. So let's do this.
Yeah, exactly. And just remember, that's a small section. A good litmus is if you've heard it as a progressive talking point, it's probably in their platform. So famous endorsements started rolling in. Joining the cause now were director Oliver Stone, journalist Chris Hedges, and anti-war activist Cindy Sheehan. That being said, though, 2019 went really quietly, seeming to be taking more time to amass members and not so much a sign that 2020 elections were at the forefront of any plans. So 2020 would end up being more about establishing direct actions and protests. Their first protest would be on July 25th, where they would lead a call for a nationwide car caravan for people to drive in front of the homes of members of Congress and Senate to demand the defunding of police, Medicare for all, a monthly $2,000 check for as long as the pandemic was going on, a suspension of all rent and mortgage payments, and a suspension of student loan and credit card payments. And based off of news reports, it got completely lost in the shuffle. And this is mostly because the George Floyd protests were going on.
Which maybe at that point you want to like throw your weight into that.
Yeah. Yes, I think that's very accurate. The top action that was going on that day, at least according to news, is the Party of Socialism and Liberation held a car protest that day to support the decolonization of Puerto Rico. And like I said, every single neighborhood was doing a car caravan to protest the various murders that had been done by their police. And it's very easy to get lost in the shuffle, especially in a car caravan, because it's really hard to read what you write on the side of a car from your home, especially I imagine if you're a member of Congress and your home's probably far away from the road, I would assume.
Yes, because you have money.
Yes, yeah, you have what's it called, a yard? You know, fanciful things I've heard about.
Hedges.
Oh, hedges! My God, it's like a tree, but it's a shape. Yeah, so no one really gave a fuck, but it was their first action, good for them. The high watermark of the party, though, was just on the horizon. After 3 years of existence, the party was finally ready to host their first convention. Initially, the plan was to hold it live in Milwaukee, but after the COVID showed up, it was decided it would be best to hold the convention online. And honestly, that was a really fortuitous decision on their part. Because you know what? Not everyone has the ability or is blessed enough to be able to go to Milwaukee on the drop of a bucket. That's a phrase, right? Drop of a dime bucket, whatever. Look, I'm not dissing Milwaukee. It's just,
The point is, do you really want to be in Milwaukee?
Yeah. It's not a bad town. Not a top destination.
No, it is a town where I've seen the most adults drinking on a Saturday morning without any kind of game affiliation.
Oh my God. It's that rare time between hockey, football, and baseball where there's nothing to do.
The 2 weeks in May.
Yeah. But yeah, they decided to fuck it, do it live. Just, do a big old Zoom call that people could hop into and watch what was going on.
Which at the end of the day is like more disabled friendly as
Mhm.
well. Like there's something to take away from that. So.
Exactly. And they had brought in some fucking speakers. They had their old favorites, Dr. Cornel West and Jimmy Dore, but there were some big new names that also showed up, including Danny Glover, former Governor Jesse Ventura, presidential hopeful Marianne Williamson, and congressional candidate Nina Turner. Even Nick stepped forward as a featured speaker, which he would become on a very regular basis after this. It was here that the party introduced their new timeline. They would run candidates for local offices in Congress in 2022 and then president in 2024.
Take it slow, guys.
Exactly. 2 years it's kind of a tight window, but the party has had a 3-year head start for this, and Nick was not short on optimism. Quote, 4 years from now, at the People's Convention of 2024, when the People's Party stands poised to sweep Congress and the White House, we will look back and celebrate this gathering as the moment that our country turned the page on the second Gilded Age, the moment that we took fate into our own hands, the moment that we gave rise to a new progressive era. Thoughts?
You ever meet someone who's high on his own supply?
Yeah.
I don't want to diss the guy, but it is one of those things where it's like, I know in his head, he like, yes, this is the sound, like he is what we are actually seeing from, say, president of Ukraine right now, where it's just like, everything is just like, it is capturing us. We are on the edge of our seat. But it's actually, the words are just like, this is a B movie. It's fine. I didn't even rent it. It was just sort of like on Netflix. I watched it. It was fine. And I totally forgot about it.
Like for me, these are big fucking promises that you're making. These are like, this is either exaggeration or holy shit. If this becomes true, then holy shit, this is apocryphal. This guy might be living in Delphi, just taking in all the smells and fucking telling you what the fuck's happening. So after the speeches, 99% of the attendees would vote to make the Movement for a People's Party an official electing party. The convention would be viewed by 400,000 people.
Hey, okay.
And so
numbers.
A little bit of self-editorialing here. So I hadn't read the HuffPo piece. I don't read HuffPo. It's not my daily go-to.
I forget that it still exists.
Yeah. But I had seen the People's Party on Twitter, and when I saw everyone who was going to be speaking at this event, a part of me was like, holy shit, this sounds legit. And especially after reading the platform, it's like, I can fuck with all this. This sounds really great. So yeah, I mean, it's literally everything going forward with here makes a lot of sense why so many people decided to watch. A membership would jump from 58,000 people to 85,000 by the end of the weekend. And by Election Day 2020, 116,000 people had signed up to be members of the party.
Ooh.
This boost would also be attributed to an online rebuttal the party had to the last presidential debate of 2020. The event would feature Nick, Twitter celebrity and podcaster Ryan Knight, and actress Rose McGowan. The party was gaining new members at a huge rate. Celebrity endorsements were growing. And these are exactly the base that you need to do the hard work of getting people on the ballots and to get the word out. You just have to keep people on board. 1 week after the election, when MPP membership was reported to be over 100,000 people, a group of people would introduce a petition to the higher-ups of the National Coordinating Circle, or in layman's terms, the group of people who run the party at the national level. You see, a lot of these new members were very passionate and excited to get to work, but what they found when they got to the party slack kind of dampened their spirits. To them, the party was lacking the basic necessities to operate, let alone run candidates in 2022. In total, 200 members would sign this petition demanding 10 major changes to the party operations. Now, Una, I want you to tell me when you're worried about whether or not this party is going to be okay.
I'm just getting like every Silicon Valley unicorn VC startup like heartburn from this.
Yeah.
All right, give it to me.
I'm going to remind you, this whole thing I'm about to read is demand 1.
Ha! Okay. Okay, I'm ready.
Create written and detailed bylaws.
No!
We're already there. We already hit it. Like they don't have bylaws. That's a problem for you. Support a horizontal organization structure. So as this was explained to me, a horizontal organization structure would essentially enable the state branches of the party to set their own goals and own process going forward and to operate independently while the national just kind of watched over everything, but maintained an equal level with them.
Which makes sense because every state has its own unique snowflakey needs.
You know what? 100%. 100%. We'll get all right. So allow all members, no matter their level in the party, to vote on goals and planned work, hold the national circle to the same status level as everyone else, have all leadership be elected and with the potential to be recalled, detail the roles and responsibilities of leaders, create a formal accountability and grievance process, and encourage financial transparency with regular published financial statements.
Ooh,
Demand 1.
I mean, that's, first of all, Did you know you would have too much trouble if you broke those all out into separate items?
They were broken out into like subsections. One, I just combined them all together.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I mean, yeah, fucking like this is the thing too, is like when you have a party that is so geared towards these like highly evolved progressive ideals, the problem becomes too that you have a lot of people who are just like, well, no, we all need an equal say. And at a certain point too, it's just like, actually you can't. I'm sorry. Like there needs to be a little bit of hierarchy. We are not all it's the Occupy Wall Street issue.
Oh yeah, the
like
leaderless movement thing.
Yeah. But anyway, oh my God. But yeah, it's like, but also, yes, you need some paper trail showing that this is real.
Mm-hmm. Demand 2.
Oh my God.
An org structure and bylaws must be created with the input of party volunteers. So understand the hierarchy, you have the national circle, and then everyone else is there on a volunteer basis. So,
all right,
the people who are not being paid should have some input on org structure and bylaws.
I mean, it's just a recipe for chaos, but okay.
I don't think they're saying everyone. I think they're saying like certain people should be involved. Like more than none.
Oh, well, yeah. And you also maybe pay these people. Anyway, okay, yes.
3, documentation of standard operating procedures and information guides for groups that the party may want to ally with. Demand 4, a clear strategic plan to accomplish the party's missions.
No!
Demand 5, a clear plan of how the party platform will be created and voted on. Demand 6, the 2 above plans must be documented before any focus on expansion.
Yeah.
Demand 7, reinstate the Regenerative Culture Working Group to uphold community agreements and bylaws. The work group would also get an ombudsperson, which is probably one of my favorite jobs out there. Essentially, an ombudsperson acts as like an independent mediator and is just kind of there to find a peaceful existence between both parties.
Much better than an arbitrator.
Yeah, so the work group would get an ombudsperson, and the new bylaws must protect the working group's existence and protect them from retaliation against any members of the group. The ombudsperson would also produce the minutes for the National Circle's meetings. Demand 8 should focus on regular people and not just celebrities.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Demand 9, demographic and affinity groups such as Black voters for a People's Party should be allowed to set their own goals and strategies.
Yes.
And Demand 10, develop guidelines to help local orgs in knowing how to engage the community on behalf of the MPP without having to constantly check with national if it's okay.
Oh my God. I feel like everyone jumped in, and it was the people who have backgrounds working for like PERG and various nonprofit organizations, and they got there and like, oh, so there's nothing? Like there's literally nothing?
That is 100% what happened.
Done this?
Yeah. You are bringing in passionate activists who want a reliable third party and people who have come from backgrounds of nonprofits, of working in the community, and they have shown up expecting shit they should have done on day one and not finding it there.
At all.
So I'm gonna add one more little detail to all of this. And it's for the financial demand of like, hey, we need to see finances and bookkeeping. The person who was named in charge of the finances is Rodrigo Brana, Nick's dad.
No.
And I will remind you, he has experience in architecture, not in accounting.
No.
Look, what's wrong with hiring your family to keep the money safe?
Oh my God.
Surely that's never gone wrong ever.
Oh.
So that being said, the petitioners did appear to have some level of optimism going in that maybe the group just got overwhelmed by the sudden explosion of support. They weren't ready to have this many people onboarded, and that the demands would be integrated swiftly. So now's the time for me to say that for the past 2 weeks, I've spent time talking to former members of the party. Everyone from freshly formed Democrats to staunch communists, entry-level volunteers to people who are state coordinators, people who I found to be passionate, genuine, and above all, disappointed in what the MPP turned out to be. And I should also note that everyone I talked to has the receipts to back up what they told me.
Oh, damn.
So this isn't just like, complaining about an old workplace. These are people who have evidence of the shit they dealt with.
Yes. And again, it's like, this is where it's useful to stress. It's like activists, these are very passionate people. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, they're going to keep the receipts because the whole point is just like the disappointment in not being able to put that passion somewhere. Yeah. And that's the heartbreak.
Like these are people who have been fucked over before by someone or something at some point in time.
You can say the Democrats, Jesse, it's fine. You can just say it. I'm
never going to forgive you for Howard Dean, you fucks. I'm also going to be leaving these people anonymous because I don't know how litigious Nick and his dad are, and I don't accidentally want to give someone the gift of court. So,
Nope. Yeah.
yeah. So, a common bit of news that members of this time would hear after the petition was turned in is that the National Committee was, quote, working on things, but it just takes a lot of time to get everything together. So, their homework is 3 years late, and they just need an extension to get it done.
Again, and I just feel like you're saying this to a group of people who have the energy to say, like, well, then I can help with that. And I've done it before.
Yeah, these are people with templates.
Yeah. And not the Google templates, like real templates.
Look, I went to LegalZoom to see if they had bylaws for a third party, and I don't know what to tell you, man. We got to do this from scratch. So by mid-December, the petitioners were less than pleased that, things take a while. And we're like, hey, we should talk on the phone. So on December 15th, 200 petitioners met with the National Committee on Zoom to discuss the progress. An independent review was created, and National wrote a reply to each demand. The basic summary was that National leadership claimed that a number of things were completed, while petitioners noted that no, they were not, and if they have been, they have not been made public. Nearly a month after that, during the night of January 12th, a member who went by the anonymous name Default would make a claim on the party Slack, in which Default stated that there were a number of people who could not be trusted within the party. And on the evening of January 12th and on the morning of January 13th, an estimated 60 members of the petitioners were purged from the party.
Whoa, what?
So Nick would make an emergency Zoom call to the entire party and had stated that what he had found out was there is a splinter group that had been meeting on Discord called The Way Forward. And the Way Forward, their whole goal was to try to push the party more towards the Democrats to eventually then be enveloped back in by the Democrats, to which Nick did not like. It was like potentially damaging to the integrity of the party. He was worried that they were stealing membership data, that they were just, doing some sneaky stuff.
Yeah, and don't they know that Nick's plan was always to subsume the Democratic Party? Just trust in the system.
I don't think he was advertising that anymore at this point.
Okay, that's fair enough.
So Nick had no choice but to kick him out. And he finished his Zoom by stating, quote, "The work that we are doing is the only thing that is going to keep this country from electing a fascist in 2024.
Not this way.
Yeah.
Not with just like exiling people from the Slack. Like there's just a weird, I don't know, a weird like 50s McCarthyism, but all on the stupid ass app of Slack.
Yep. The thing, though, is that while this is what one would call a, quote, bad look, Nick did have a couple of advantages. For one, it would not be the first time that a major party or government agency infiltrated a progressive or socialist movement, so claiming that Democratic infiltrators showed up as a card you can at least play once and get away with it. But for two, the MPP was about to get a huge bit of celebrity push. On December 28th, 2020, they would announce their advisory council, which in theater terms, it's like those group of 5 people that you're like, oh, they're advising our theater company, but we never talk to them. They're there to make us look good.
And a little bit of like fundraising.
Exactly, yeah. So they named a number of big name activists alongside singer Eleanor Goldfield, Los Angeles Chargers running back Justin Jackson, Code Pink founder Medea Benjamin, neighborhood counselor Maybe a Girl, state representative Mike Sylvester, Rose McGowan, and Susan Sarandon.
What? She is everywhere, man.
Yeah, I want to know more about her story with this because some things happen. But the most important name on the list is someone that we've mentioned before and really should get into deeper right now. Comedian, quotation marks, Jimmy Dore.
Yeah, you've been mentioning Jimmy Dore a lot as if I know him at all.
Yeah, that's I'm glad you don't. But we're going to get into him right now. So Jimmy was born in Chicago in 1965. He was the youngest of 6 brothers, grew up in a Polish-Irish family. His dad was a cop, and he spent his whole pre-college time in Catholic school.
Oh, boy.
He had enrolled at Illinois State, but dropped out after 3 years and got a job as a forklift driver. Now, he would end up finishing his degree at Columbia College in Chicago and ended up getting a mass communications degree. But in 1989, at the age of 24, he began doing stand-up comedy in Chicago. Did the open mic circuit here for about 6 years, and in 1995 moved to LA. So Dore has stated his biggest influences are George Carlin, Jerry Seinfeld, and Bill Hicks. And believe me, it does not show. So, Carlin and Bill Hicks, I think, are probably some best examples of what he's going for. They're both political, they're both confrontational, but in a way that's actually empathetic. Because Carlin's not there to to grieve about situations and not offer solutions. He's there to kind of help people find common ground, not just with one political ideology, but to kind of move everyone to just being better. Are you familiar with Bill Hicks?
Maybe. What I might, in fact, now that I realize it, I think I'm confusing the name with Bill Burr.
Yeah. So Bill Hicks in the 90s was a comedian, I believe, from Texas, who did a lot of political stuff. Dennis Leary ripped off his entire shtick.
Shut the front door. Yeah. Wow.
And that's mainly because Bill would end up dying of cancer in 96, I believe. But a lot of his bits are extremely good. One of my favorites is he would talk about the first thing that presidents get when they're elected is that a bunch of people from the FBI just kind of lead the new president into a room and just show him a video of the JFK assassination, but from an angle no one's ever seen. It's really fucked up, but really good.
It's really fun. Yeah.
But yeah, and it's the thing with Door is that it really feels like all of his jokes are punching down, doing the whole thing of like, oh, these people are too dumb to be progressive. What's wrong with them?
Yeah.
But by the aughts, dude was getting regular work. He appeared on late night talk shows. He got a couple of Comedy Central specials. He even co-wrote the Marijuana Logs with Arj Barker and Doug Benson. In 2005, he'd start a new weekly show at the Upright Citizens Brigade Theater in LA called Citizen Jimmy. And during it, he would, feature news clips and then riff off them, stating that he was surprised that no one had been doing this, completely ignoring the fact that The Daily Show had been in existence since 1998.
Yeah.
And look, I know I'm kind of speaking not well of him so far, but I think a lot of it's based off the fact that today I watched one of his sets from Just for Laughs in Montreal. It was just an insufferable 6 minutes where I didn't even come close to laughing even once. And neither did the audience.
Ooh, yikes.
It was not good. It reminded me a lot of a comedy special called An Evening with Tim Heidecker, which if you haven't seen it, it's essentially Tim doing a comedy special called An Evening with Tim Heidecker. It shows him walking into the venue in the middle of the day. So it's like lunchtime that he's doing this. And he plays the character of this like grizzled road comic who's pissed off that no one likes his jokes because they suck. And it's 45 minutes of just very brilliant work that only Tim Heidecker could pull off without it being offensive.
Right. It's a little Andy Kaufman-esque.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. Is he the Tim from Tim and Eric?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
So watching Jimmy Dore, it just felt like, it felt very much like that seething Gen X anger of just like, why don't you fuckers think I'm funny?
Right. It's like, I'm so sorry. You're like, you chose not to grow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You're doing American jokes in Canada. It's not, no one's going to care, my dude. Yeah. Make a joke about like maple syrup or fucking something, man. Like, yeah, the only Canadian joke he told was like, he walked out, he's like, bonjour. And he was like, hey, I did it. And no one laughed. Everyone's like, yeah, you're supposed to, this is Quebec. What do you want, a cookie?
Yeah, we're famously intolerant of English. So please continue.
Yeah, it was a bad start. But yeah, the whole thing just felt like a left-wing version of what Tim's set was for his whole thing.
Amazing.
So in 2009, Jimmy would enter into his most successful phase of his career, his ascendance into what I like to call leftist Joe Rogan.
Oh, boy.
The Jimmy Dore Show began as a 1-hour weekly radio show that focused on current events. The show was syndicated nationally on radio, but would get its biggest boost in the same year when it was broadcast online via the Young Turks network. Its viewership grew and grew until 2012 when Jimmy decided to migrate the headquarters of his show to his own YouTube channel. And in 2019, his YouTube channel was producing multiple segments and videos a day. But Jimmy hasn't been able to do this without being a real piece of shit along the way. In 2017, he would take offense to the claim that Syrian President Bashar al-Assad had used chemical weapons on his own people and claimed it was a false flag. It was later found by Bellingcat that Dore had been taking money from a pro-Assad lobbying group at this time.
Okay, first of all, who takes money from a pro-Assad lobbying group? Oh my God!
Jimmy Dore.
No!
Not great. It gets worse. So in 2017, Jimmy also supported the idea that Democratic staffer Seth Rich had been murdered by Clinton surrogates for leaking her emails. Also known as a right-wing talking point.
Yeah, and just a dumb conspiracy.
In 2012, Dore tried to spread a rumor that Joe Biden had held a fancy party where he wore blackface. And this was based off a highly edited picture.
God, with friends like these, who needs enemies?
Mm-hmm. But of course, he wouldn't be leftist Joe Rogan if he didn't think that COVID vaccines were dangerous, that ivermectin is the one true way.
It's like, this is not the equality that I seek.
Nope. And just the shit cherry on top of all of this, dude's also a sex creep.
Of course he is. Gah!
So in 2021, Anna Kasparian of the Young Turks accused Jimmy of sexually harassing her multiple times while he worked there. One example that Jimmy would admit to happening was when Anna showed up wearing a short dress and she was teaching students, doing like an internship sort of thing. And Jimmy repeatedly made jokes about how unprofessional she was when she bent over and saying, "Hey, nice show."
Oh.
He did apologize, though, via a note he put on her desk.
Ew.
Yeah.
Oh.
And Anna has stated that is not the only time he has been a sex creep to her. So that's Jimmy Dore, and he's like on the advisory council of this party.
With Rose fucking McGowan?
With Rose fucking McGowan.
Ugh.
So it should also be noted that it's really weird that Jimmy Dore got into speaking at MPP events the exact same year that he started going into conspiracies.
Oh no.
Anyway, back to December 19th, 2020. On this day, Jimmy would announce a huge moment, his new idea to push progressive politics in America called Force the Vote. With the assistance of the MPP, they would push for Nancy Pelosi to bring Medicare for all to a vote before Congress, despite knowing that the bill would not be able to pass in the Senate. Jimmy said the goal was to force people to vote so we would know for sure who really supported Medicare for all and who was actually a bunch of goddamn liars.
Fun fact, he wanted to call it Fist the Vote, but even that got voted down.
Love it.
And he listened.
So, 3 issues with this, and all of them were brought up by Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. So AOC caught word of this movement thanks to the MPP's main role of just constantly tweeting at the 9 most progressive members of Congress to introduce the bill and to get things going. So issue 1 is that only Nancy Pelosi gets to decide what gets voted on, and you can introduce this bill every single week, but it's not going to make Nancy put it on the floor for a vote. Point 2, there's already a list of people who have co-sponsored the legislation, so there's already a list that exists of people who support it. But point 3, which I think is really kind of the most damning of this plan, is that, say you're a congressperson, you want to score some points, and voting for Medicare for all would make it look like, you're a decent person, and, you could convince your constituents like, oh, I really tried. But in actuality, you're like, well, I mean, the hospitals and all these insurance companies that fund my campaign would really fucking hate it if I voted this in. So knowing that it's never going to pass the Senate because you need a 60-40 vote to get that through, you can vote yes without worrying about it. And AOC made the point that a lot of people will probably do that, knowing that they will have no consequences for doing so, giving you a fake list of people who support Medicare for all. To which Jimmy Dore went misogynistically ballistic.
Oh, no.
So it should be noted that this wasn't the thing that made him hate AOC. He has hated AOC for fucking years. He seems to have a real problem with, what's the phrase he would probably use? Mouthy broads with bad ideas.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. It's Sam Cedar, who's kind of like his nemesis on YouTube, has pointed out that Jimmy tends to not really clap back at dudes that often, but will repeatedly yell at women on a show, including Anna Kasparia, the woman he sexually harassed for a number of years.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, that's not to be ignored.
Yep. So AOC was like, hey, this is a bad idea. Jimmy got pissed off, and the MPP suddenly made AOC the villain of their party.
For fuck's like the person who is really like going to town trying to bring progressive ideals to the national level.
Yep.
And also the person who's like most beloved by just general Americans.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And there was like constant things where it's just like, oh, AOC hasn't talked about Medicare for all, in months. And then a week after someone posted that, she brings up Medicare for all at the Nina Turner event.
Wow. I am shocked to find out that this group made of leftover Bernie bros is now attacking AOC. Yep. Shocked, I tell you.
Yep. It's I know we all need a moment. But wait, it's 2021. Oh shit, there's an election next year. Fuck. Okay, we got to get ready for this. All right, we've made promises. We got to do this. So in April, the party would make a call for potential nominees, and the states of California, Colorado, Maine, and Ohio would announce initiatives to get them on the ballot. So shit is getting done. And by June, the party had even picked up a pair of notable supporters. 2018 and 2020 Democratic candidate for Georgia's 1st District, Lisa Ring, and probably the biggest one, West Virginia Senate candidate, Paula Jean Swearingen. So Paula Jean's had a rough time on Twitter. She not really the best tweet person or tweetsmith, I imagine, but I gotta love the fact that she's a West Virginian, she's an Appalachia gal, she's doing like she's one of those old school coal miner progressives, and it's really hard for me not to support that.
Yeah, we gotta stand.
But she joined the party as the on a national level to help build membership in West Virginia. So it's 2 really big gets for them out of nowhere. It really kind of seems like they're riding the ship. So Paula would join just in time to travel with Nick and Susan Sarandon to protest outside AOC's office in the Bronx for not forcing the vote.
Come on.
Yeah. And said protest happened during a nationwide Medicare for All protest that had the real unfortunate side effect of accidentally featuring a lot of anti-vax people during these speeches.
Oh no. I was afraid you were going to say becoming a super spreader event.
Maybe. But yeah, in Los Angeles in particular, an anti-vaxxer was speaking and was talking and then brought up anti-vax talking points, and they made her leave the stage, which caused people to get fucking pissed off.
Ooh, yeah, there's no winning that situation.
Yeah. But Nick isn't done protesting progressive congresswomen. On September 6th, he would lead a protest fighting the end of the COVID eviction moratorium. Once again, Paula Jean joined him, as well as himbo communist YouTuber Jackson Hinkle. Prior to the protest, they would reference a similar action where a month earlier, Congresswoman Cori Bush slept outside the Capitol building to protest the impending eviction moratorium ending. Cori Bush was able to strike a deal with Biden that extended the moratorium for a little bit of time, but not by nearly enough for Nick to think there was anything other than a protest for show. And now Cori Bush is on the enemy's list.
Oh, no, you do not come for Cori Bush. Like a person who has been homeless, like someone who is not, like we all want to say like, oh, someone's an outsider, they're outside the beltway. Yeah. No, that's Cori Bush.
Yep.
That's it. Your girl kept the eviction moratorium.
Yep.
Ah.
But they decided to hold a protest that attracted not a lot of people and got Nick, Paula Jean, and Jackson arrested.
God damn it.
It should also be noted in October of 2021, the party also tweeted a very mean tweet to Bernie, essentially asking him if he was still with them or not.
New phone, who this?
Yeah, Bernie's busy. Bernie's been busy since 2017. Which brings us to today. Since the protest, the MPP has been getting ready for the midterms. In August, Missouri would end up announcing that they made it onto the ballot. In September, Florida would join them. And in December, Virginia made it also. And sure, no candidates had been announced. And for some reason, the party not to even run an independent in the Cali recall, where the progressive option to Gavin Newsom hadn't really gained media attention. And the bar to run was really low and easy to get in. But I don't know, man. Susan Sarandon and Jimmy Dore both live there. So that's like easy marketing, I guess. I don't know, man. They just decided, no, we're not going to do it. It's fine. But hey, 2022 is looking pretty set. And even Nick would end up winning the election in his own party to be the interim national chair. Things were on fucking track. And the 5 years of tweets asking who are running lol could finally be put in their place. Then February 23rd, 2022, Una, it fucking happened again. A bunch of liberal Democrats tried to take over the fucking party.
But did they?
Nick says, so it's gotta be true.
I just love the calling of like non-pure believers.
Yeah. So you know what they say, Democratic infiltrators once, shame on me. So a bunch of liberal Democrats were discovered. But not only that, but 4 of the 10 national committee members ended up being infiltrators. But it's cool. We kicked them all out. But then you get this statement from Nick, quote, "The People's Party is a populist party," which was news to people because they thought it was a progressive party. And he has claimed, no, we've always been a populist party.
Okay.
These board members wanted to convert it to a more liberal and woke party. They had already begun reorienting the party's message away from economic populism and towards identity politics, a transformation that alarmed many volunteers. They were supported by contractors who abused their positions of authority in the party to attack our own volunteers, delegates, and even Ralph Nader, who spoke at the opening meeting of the National Organizing Committee, as sexist, racist, and white supremacists for seeking to build class solidarity. This liberal faction opposed allowing our membership to democratically decide the party's position on COVID vaccine mandates, going as far as attempting to shut down a party-wide vote and censor and cancel volunteers who discussed it in Slack. They even responded to Rodrigo's personal story of suffering a vaccine injury, Bell's palsy, by alleging that it hadn't actually happened. They sought to replace our universalist message of healthcare, college, and housing for all with partitioned messages for different identity groups, a staple of Democratic Party campaigns. They were fundamentally reorienting the party away from its populist mission of uniting the left and right against the establishment, a mission they derided as building a red-brown alliance and economic reductionism.
I don't know, man. I've been reading a lot of Soviet history. This just has like Stalin paranoia all over it.
Oh, no. Yeah, as soon as I said they're trying to turn it into a woke party, I'm like, oh, Nick is taking a turn.
Yeah.
So that's right. Fucking Democratic infiltrators again. When you know, son of a bitch. Well, from the folks I talked to, it's a little more complicated than that.
You don't say.
For one, an investigation had been opened up to look into accusations of sexual harassment by Nick. This investigation was opened back in December. 3 board members were charged with looking into it, but a 4th had to be added when one of the 3 people had been discovered to be funneling information of what they found directly to Nick.
Yikes.
By mid-February, the investigation was ready to present their findings and called for an emergency meeting of the national board. This request was repeatedly ignored until the 2 board members who weren't funneling information to Nick were discovered to be Democratic infiltrators and were kicked out of the party, along with 2 other supporters on the board. Nick would later claim that the investigation finished in December with him not having done anything wrong and stating that the accuser, who has not made herself known publicly, has a history of false sexual harassment complaints.
Oh, Nick.
Yep.
Oh, boy.
Yep. It's, look, nothing says I'm a sex creep like pulling that card.
to have information funneled to you
Yep.
while you put off the report and then denounce the two people who aren't funneling information to you, and then just go on the offense and deny the claims of the accuser.
Yeah. And just like it was done in December. No, I don't have any documentation. Why would we need it? I didn't do anything. And one quick sidebar, just in case Nick's listening, just rage listening this whole time. So quick question. So in the 10-member national board, 2 of the members are you and your dad. So that knocks it down to 8. How did you not discover that half of your national board were Democratic operatives until now? Either how corrupt are you or how bad are you at looking into people's backgrounds? It's one or fucking the other.
You don't get both. Great. You don't get both.
No, you fucking do not.
I just love this, like, of the 2 major parties, I don't know. I mean, if the Dems are always in disarray, do you think we have it together enough to like send in secret operatives? Do you think we have that kind of time?
It's a point that I have been thinking, and that they maybe get at most 20 retweets on things. Some days they don't get any. I don't think the Democrat Party knows they exist. It would be
Mariah Carey. I don't know her.
It'd be such a waste of time and money because just based on the petition, they don't have to send anyone in. They're good. This party is a plane made with lead wings. It's not gonna. It's gonna crumple the second you put it on the ground. Ugh. So, all right. So there is that. Since the announcement, about a dozen state factions of the MPP have completely left. And some, like the People's Party of Washington, are going forward with the plan to run candidates independent of the national party and just do this on their fucking own. But it's also from talking to folks that this is becoming the first time that state parties can actually run candidates without Nick retaliating. So one story I was told involves the Texas branch of the party. Texas has the earliest filing deadlines, but it's not impossible to end up on the ballot as a third party. They're a lot easier to be a third party candidate there than, say, Virginia or Missouri. So without telling national and assuming the goal was to run candidates in 2022, they just started getting everything in order. By 2020, it looked like everything was going to be set for them, with one exception. Allegedly, the Texas group had one member that was against running candidates since Nick hadn't given the go-ahead. So they contacted Nick and told him what was up. The next day, Nick calls an emergency meeting, and at said meeting, kicks out everyone except his follower, essentially stopping the process of running candidates in its tracks. Now, this would be one thing if it was just the state, but I was also told the same thing happened in Florida, that they were all set to run candidates, and then they purged everyone who wasn't a supporter. The excuse that Texas had been given was there weren't enough members of the party in the state to run a viable campaign. But the thing is, if you want more supporters, you kind of got to run a candidate.
Yeah, I mean, that's where like the people who have boots on the ground are like, yeah, that's what we're doing is bringing in more supporters. We know our people.
And like not running someone in every race, it doesn't stop the libertarians. I mean, they're about the closest to being able to break the duopoly, love them or hate them. But they're not going to let a little thing like, oh man, we're on 12 of the 15 districts in Ohio. I guess we got to shut down everything in Ohio. But yeah, there were multiple stories I heard of parties that were ready to run candidates, but Nick just shut it down as quickly as he could. And I don't know why. The fact of the matter is, I really don't know why. I don't know if it's a thing of just like knowing the candidates weren't going to win. So these grandiose promises of taking the House and the Senate were just never going to happen and would make him look bad. Or if he genuinely was like, we need to have massive support across the state before we even think about doing this. Or if there's some weird third option that I don't know of.
Yeah.
But we'll get to that weird third option in a bit. So yeah. So there is that. And the main claim that I heard is that the only reason Nick even announced that they had the intention of running people in 2022 was to get Twitter off his back. That all the trolls were like, cool idea, who you running? Had annoyed him to the point that he's just like, fuck it, say we're running.
Was it you, Dusty? Were you
I did mention that a couple of times. I went from being excited for the party to just like completely distrusting after the 2021 California recall election. But even prior to that, when they were going after AOC and turning really right out of nowhere, I would tweet, good point, who you running against her? I never got a fucking response.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the deal with the advisory committee. So you bring in 20 celebrities and famous activists to act as your advisors going forward. And so I did some reaching out and found that 7 people had left the committee within less than a year. Chris Smalls, who's most well known for leading multiple union movements against Amazon, told me that he had only done a few speaking engagements for the party and had never attended a single advisory council meeting and never at any point held a position in the party.
Oh boy. So he was like Kanye on the Alaska Independent Party.
He responded to me the quickest within, I think, like 5 minutes. It was just like, do not know.
Amazing.
The one that I think that really kind of knocked me back is I contacted maybe a girl who is a non-binary drag queen who recently was, I believe in 2018, was voted onto the Silver Lake Neighborhood Council. Silver Lake is a neighborhood in Los Angeles. Currently, they're running against Adam Schiff in the upcoming election. And so when I emailed them to be like, "Hey, are you still doing this?" They said they attended about 3 meetings, but very quickly realized they didn't want to work with certain members of the advisory council. I'm sure it doesn't rhyme with Jimmy.
It doesn't rhyme with floor.
Yeah. So a number of people were just like, yeah, I don't do that anymore. And
yeah, wow.
Yeah, to lose 7 people, not counting one of the advisory council had passed as well. So I'm not counting her because that's not a decision. But for 7 of your 20 just to be like, fuck this, I'm out, kind of says a lot. And then there's the really dark shit. Recently, Nick's been taking a very anti-vax tone, and based on screen caps of the party's Facebook and Slack, racism also seems to be a very huge problem within the party. Which Nick seems to be alluding to when he claims wokeness as bad. Now, the anti-vax, a number of people think that he started bringing that up and becoming a major point when the sexual harassment investigation started as kind of a way to distract people. And he wanted to have a party-wide vote on whether or not the MPP would be against vaccines or mandates going forward. And a lot of people are like, those are kind of white nationalist talking points. And the response was like, that's some woke bullshit. Fuck you.
I thought we were a progressive party. No, we are a populist
party. We're populist now, goddammit. Someone caught me sexually harassing someone and now we're populists. Allegedly. So a lot of this racism seems to be coming from a woman by the name of Laura Morris, who currently runs the party's social media. And this is something I feel totally comfortable saying, not adding allegedly to, because there are screen caps of shit that she has said from the company Slack.
Laura.
From the party Slack, yeah. As well as the party Facebook. At one point, when complaining about Black members of the party, she said, quote, "They have us by the short hairs." A couple of members said that they noticed that Laura would make a point to find any new Black volunteers who joined the party and kick them out without them knowing.
What?
Yep. Laura also has no social media experience. She makes jewelry in Maine.
What?
But the reason she has this position, at least according to the people I talked to, is that she is one of Nick's fiercest advocates in the Slack and Facebook. One described her as Nick's attack dog. Now, I can't tie her to this, but another member stated that there was sort of like a troll brigade that would show up, that if you said like, hey, vaccine mandates are probably a good idea, you would get descended on by the same 5 people repeatedly on Slack who would just text scream at you the whole time, like claim you're a Democratic infiltrator, say you're trying to take down the party, and just like yell at you until either you quit or you took back what you said.
Yikes.
And then there's the question of how many active members the party really has. So their rolls claim that there are thousands, up to like 116,000. But I think the best evidence that is a lie is looking at the interim chair election, wherein Nick won 700 votes and his competitor won 300. So in the best case of estimates, that is 1% participation of their membership.
Yeah. And this is a membership that gets very into participation, one would think, at least in the early days with all the activists.
Kind of when you start purging people and creating a toxic environment, people kind of don't want to work with you guys anymore. A number of members who also got purged have noticed they still receive emails about donating to the party.
Oh, of course they do.
Yeah.
Gross.
And it's allegedly very hard to get yourself off of automatic payments to the party as well. Some people have stated they've had to change their credit cards.
Oh, wow. That's yikes.
Mm-hmm.
That's predatory.
And so kind of talking about the finances too, it was found that the party had spent $20,000 on a logo remodel that resulted in no new logo.
Oh, no.
Yeah. It's just like they paid $20,000 to this company that apparently someone who worked there was a friend of one of the board members, and then just nothing came of the logo.
Yeah. Wow. Yikes.
But on top of that, Nick's dad is still running the finances. 99% of the party are volunteers, and only a handful of national people get regular or contractor paychecks. So it's really kind of hard to tell where the money's going. A lot of the payouts are listed as like anonymous or as like just filled in with general contractor names. So it's really hard to figure out what's legitimate and what isn't. So I'm sure someone from the IRS is going to have more fun with that than me.
I hope so.
But on top of that, folks who formerly led state initiatives told me they were never given any funds from national, with the exception of the supposed $50 they could write off each month for like flyers and
$50? You can't do shit with $50 in America right now.
And a few of them told me they had to fight like hell to get those $50 returned. So you have volunteers paying for shit. And since Rodrigo was not doing the paperwork to make them a national party, because technically they're still not a national party, they weren't able to recognize the state branches as affiliates, meaning that they couldn't do large-scale fundraising on their own.
Oh my God.
So where does this leave the MPP now? Well, I mean, they're definitely not running anyone in 2022. That ship has fucking sailed. The remaining members are circling around Nick, and they seem to be forming a bit of a YouTube alliance. One of the remaining board members has called for Jimmy Dore to have greater influence in the party going forward. Nick continues to support famous support from Jackson Hinkle and a dude by the name of Lee Camp, who, up until about 3 days from where we're recording, hosted a show called Redacted Tonight, which he was featured on the YouTube channel of RT America.
Oh no!
Notorious for Russian state propaganda.
It's just the Russian state. That's it. The money is coming from the Russian state.
Yeah, and so it's just
kind of
as former members have called it, they're creating a podcast party where it's like, you know, Jimmy Dore, Lee Camp, and Jackson Hinkle, like all just trying to use their influence to make a party. Weird note: Lee Camp is also Jenny Slate's brother-in-law.
That is so weird.
That has to really suck for her. I don't appreciate that for her. But it's also, there's kind of been a shift in the party on Twitter supporting Russia and claiming that Ukraine, NATO, the US, and the UK forced the current war that is happening because they were going to put Ukraine in NATO. And what was Russia going to do? That's a risk to them. And so it kind of looks like things are about to take a shift further right for the party. Why? I mean, if the goal isn't to run candidates or push policy or even start the revolution, then why is the MPP even here? And I think the safest bet, and this is just me and my opinion, is that Nick is running a grift. Maybe a power one as well, but it seems to be more of a money grift. But it's hard to keep power when you keep kicking people out all the time. The word starts spreading that, hey, leftists, you shouldn't join this group. It dilutes the pool that you can recruit from. And so what's left but to start shifting right and picking up those right voices who already don't like AOC, who don't like vaccine mandates. Also, they started supporting the truckers convoy. That's fun.
Wow. I mean, just a full bingo.
Yeah. And honestly, it reminds me a lot of our old pals, Lyndon LaRouche and Fred Newman. Two people who started progressive movements, started shifting to the right, and started wielding a large amount of power in a small group of people, which there's a word for it. It starts with a C and is usable on Wordle. But the other point is, like, it's a small party with 1,000 people maybe taking part in it. So why am I even talking about this? Why am I even covering? And the reason is the folks that I talk to are really passionate, and they give so many fucks about making our country and the world a better place, not just for themselves, but for fucking everyone. They want a third party they can trust and rely on and run people that aren't in it for popularity or power. And based off what I've heard and been told, Nick Brana took that passion and used it against people for his own gain with no real intention of doing what he promised. And at 33, the dude is young. He has plenty of time to reinvent himself or shift further to the right as he drives out potential supporters from the left. But if he's going to end up like a new Fred Newman or Lyndon LaRouche, that is a lot of people who might get sucked into something dangerous and ruinous for themselves. I hope I'm wrong, and this is just simple incompetence and paranoia running the show. But worst case scenario is Nick creating a populist cult. And that's too scary to ignore, because we saw what happened when people ignored Lyndon LaRouche. He started like murdering cats and threatening people on a regular fucking basis. I'm not saying Nick's going to go doing pet genocide or anything, but it showed what happened when you ignored a weird, pesky dude and just let him do his thing until it became uncontrollable. And this is one of those rare moments that I'm just going to beg anyone who listens to this to spread this episode, because the very last thing that I want is for people to not know who Nick Brana is. I want people to know what he is doing and to know to watch out for any grift or plan that he has for the future. And like I said, I hope I'm wrong. I hope on the other end of this, he learns from his mistakes and maybe he creates a new party and maybe admits to being a sex creep and like figures out a way to like do something good with that. But with what I've seen so far, I saw him do an interview recently, one of the few non-friendly interviews he did. And it was really unfortunate because it was on a channel where the guy he was interviewing with also got kicked out of the Young Turks for being a sex creep. So it's two sex creeps yelling at each other.
Damn it.
And essentially anytime Nick was presented with a question he didn't want, he would just ramble and yell the whole fucking time. And from the people I talk to, that's what he does. If someone is facing him with a difficult situation, he'll just keep going until you exhaust yourself and give up. But they also say that one-on-one, he's extraordinarily charismatic, that he can make you believe literally anything is possible. And if this is a dude who is doing a grift of some sort, that's the sort of charisma that can become incredibly dangerous. And the last thing I want is for even one more person to enter a tremendously bad situation. So I do want to leave on two notes. One, in the rare chance that Nick's accuser is listening, you hope you're doing okay. You're surrounded by folks who care and love you. From what I've been told, you're going through absolute hell, but thank you for what you've done. And I wish more people who are looking into this were willing to look into the truth for you. Second, I want to quote one of the former MPP members I talked to. This is a slight paraphrase, so I hope I get this right. Quote, "It's mind-blowing that Nick thought he could bring together all these activists, kick them out of the party, and not expect us to find each other on the other side." And from Gadfly to y'all, honestly, we can't wait to see what you end up building in the wake of all of this. And that is the appearance and fall of the Movements for a People's Party.
Oof.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I'm sure more shit's going to come out. This is,
Yeah,
it's an ongoing
this is early
story.
days.
Yeah.
Oof.
And Nick's going to be 35 in 2024. So, I mean, perfect time to run for president, I guess, if you want to start that. If you want to beat LaRouche at the number of times someone ran for president. Which only, LaRouche doesn't even have that. I think it's, fuck, I need to look into that. I think Norman Thomas might have that. A socialist candidate holds that for now.
Oh, bless.
I really should fucking know that. Anyway. But yeah, Una, how you feeling on the wake of all that?
Woof, this has been a ride. I mean, two main thoughts. One, why can't we have nice things, Dusty?
I know, you're right.
All we want is just a progressive party.
Yeah.
That's it.
I was so excited about this party in 2017. I really fucking was. I mean, we were going to have third parties from, we're going to have them, the Forward Party, on the shitty side, the Patriot Party. It was really looking like a third party renaissance was about to start. And it was so fucking exciting.
And then second point is my heart goes out to just all of the Black progressives out there. I cannot imagine what it is like, because especially knowing that I'm sure there is a generation shift in that community between, say, like baby boomer generation and earlier, who was just like, you voted Democrat no matter what. And I think people more our age are looking around saying like, yeah, I don't know why though. And a deep need for a third party that really has their interests in their backs, and finding something that looks close to that, and finding even more aggressive racism than maybe just the not silent, but indirect racism of more established parties.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I had to cut so much shit that's been going on, but I think a really frustrating and hurtful thing that this party did is Laura Morris, I believe, had made a post comparing the MPP to Fred Hampton's movement back in the 60s, and said essentially the MPP was doing the same work as the Black Panthers.
No, you're not. And take his name out of your mouth.
Yeah. God bless that any of us could be a tenth of the person that Fred Hampton was.
Yep.
And the one dude who was figuring out a great way to bring everyone fucking together while also focusing on everyone's individual problems within their own communities and raising them to importance instead of saying, fuck that, we're doing a class war. It's so insulting to be so racist in a private Slack and then to go into public and be like, we're just like the Black Panthers.
Yeah. Also, you know what? Slack, maybe we could just all do without it. Do we need it?
No, that was another. All right, sorry, I'm going on tangents now. One of the things that the petitioners had asked is the reason they wanted to be more votes amongst the group was that Slack had just been bought by Salesforce, and Salesforce is not labor friendly. And so they're like, hey, we shouldn't be paying for Slack. And they discovered, I think it was called Guardian or something like that. It was essentially like a free version of Slack, only with more tools and shit.
I had no idea. This is good knowledge to have. Yeah.
And the National Party was like, no, we're not going to vote on that. We're keeping Slack. So it's it's 1,000 cuts. It's a lot of little things, and it's the huge fucking cuts of racism and misogyny, and just also being lied to about what the fucking goals of the party are.
Yeah.
It's a lot. I really genuinely hope it's just incompetence, but my worst fears is that this is just a really awful grift and setting up for to find who the most devout followers are and then keep them forever. Which, like I said, there's a word for that. I'm not going to say it. Allegedly. Well, thank you for joining me on this long journey. Everyone, I know this is a long episode. Like I said, please share this out. The more people know about this dude, the better.
The more you know.
So thank you for joining us this week on Gadfly. Next week, I promise a happy one. This is a rough one. We need a happy episode, so we're going to do a happy one next week. But thank you all so much, and we'll see you next time on Gadfly. Don't join a cult. Independent of what I said. Gadfly is a production of Added Serotonin. Our episodes are edited by Brianna Valentine of Rem Alternus Productions. Our theme song is Sophomore Makeout by Silent Partner, and you can find us on Twitter and Instagram at GadflyPod.
Ready to level up your cosplay game? Check out the Geek Forge on Etsy. With a variety of props to give your photos that extra spark, you'll find just what you need. Hold magical fire in the palm of your hand, or take a potion to restore your mana. With a large variety of colors, you can choose your own magical flavor for your cosplay. Bring drama to your photo shoots with these vibrant props and more, all available at the Geek Forge. Are you ready to level up your cosplay?